from Teach Pre-K, and it is the beginning of a new school year. I wanted to talk a little bit just about the importance of bonding with the kids in your class. And I know from previous experience that some kids can be harder to bond with than others. So I want you to start out knowing that that's just how it is. There are some kids that are just going to come up and hug you the first day. They're going to love you. They're going to be super easy to love and to bond with. But there's nothing more satisfying than having a child in your class that maybe, you're finding they're a little prickly, or they don't want to trust you. They don't want to trust you. They don't want to bond with you. They love their mom. They don't want to give their love to anyone else. They feel like that's a betrayal. There's nothing better than when you finally win those kids over. And I don't want you to jump through hoops, because what I believe is that you will bond with the kids better and faster if you are authentic. Kids know when you are being authentic and when you are putting on a show. They can be very entertained by the show, but most of the time they can figure out it's a show. One thing that I do that helps me bond with the kids is I will read through the paperwork that I get, and I ask them to list their families, if they have the names of their siblings, if they have a pet, what their pet is and what its name is, what their child likes and what they don't like. So I can go through those and I can remember, Arthur likes dinosaurs. You can kind of notice like what toys they're holding on to when they, come for a tour or come to meet the teacher, and remember that and find a way to connect. If they're wearing like a superhero shirt, everybody has their favorite superhero. You can tell them your favorite superhero and listen to what they say, and then bring it up later. Like, oh, Evie, I know that you love Ghost Spider. I saw that Ghost Spider is on TV, or they're going to have a new movie, or I saw a book about Ghost Spider. Or tell me more about it. I've never heard of that, because kids love to know more than you, and they love to tell you what they know. I also, favorite colors is a big thing. I also love to know their favorite color and bring it up again. Any facts I learn about them, I want to bring up again, so they know that I'm interested in them enough not to just ask the questions, but to remember their answers and to remember things about them. And why this bonding process is so important when you work in early childhood is because you've got to have that trust built up between yourself and your child, for not your own child, of course, but your students, for them to be able to express themselves freely, express their creativity, to have the confidence that to know that while they're in your classroom, they are free to explore, and that you've got their back if anything happens, if they need help resolving a dispute with another child, if they don't understand something and they have questions, if they need help in any way, they're going to know they can come to you. And it is such an important thing that you start creating that really solid bond with them, because it's going to help with everything along the way. It's going to facilitate their learning, but it's also just going to make them feel so much better about going to school. They are going to feel like they are coming to a place where somebody knows them and loves them. They are leaving one place where mom and dad and their family know them and love them, and they're going to another place where somebody knows them and loves them and teaches them things and supports them too. And it's just so important, and it's going to be helpful with any behavior issues that might come up as well. I've had to, there's a way that we discipline children in early childhood. We try our best to never shame them, and to, redirect them in the most gentle way possible. But we've all had that experience where, someone's putting up a fight or they're being extra defiant. And I've had to, get down on their level and really say, hey, Mrs. Lee loves you, and we share, a love of geckos, and you're like my gecko pal. And just like getting that, this is how we are alike, and I love this about you, and this is an important thing about you. This is what we need to do right now. We are friends. I care about you. Yes, you hit Johnny, and yes, you know that you're not supposed to do that, but it's okay. I still love you. We all make mistakes. I make mistakes. The look on the kids' faces when I tell them I make mistakes is like, whoa, you make mistakes? And I'm like, yeah, 100 before breakfast for sure. But when you start bonding, you can diffuse situations that come up a little bit faster. I did have a child a few years ago that was extraordinarily difficult. He could be so sweet, and I loved one-on-one time with him, and just, the two of us talking. But he had some serious behavior issues, and I found it very, very, very difficult to bond with him. And I learned that over time that a lot of my tried and true tricks didn't work with him. And I'd had his brother, and I bonded really tight with his brother, but this kid was a really tough nut to crack, and it really took me to almost the end of the year to really understand this child and to understand exactly what he needed from me. And what he needed was to be left alone, but then reassured that he could come to my center when he was ready. He would scream, cry, and I started piecing things together. I thought about this kid constantly, and I had never before in, I think it was 14 years of teaching at that time, had a child that didn't bond with me, that didn't care to bond with me. I, really tried to see all the things that I liked about this child. And when I had my one-on-one time, I really, really liked just talking to him. He was very interesting and very funny. And boy, I wish I would have taken more time at the beginning to bond with him even more, and maybe focus a little bit more like that. That year was a rough year, and I was putting out fires every single day, so it just never really happened. But I can look back on that and see if I would have taken that extra time, if I would have just made sure, I probably would have made him feel more comfortable, and I have him trust me more, that I was going to let him do the projects. He just needed to stop crying, and then he could come and do the project. But I want you to think about bonding with each child in your class. You're going to see the ones where it's happening like that, and you need to always reinforce that bond, always notice them, but then kind of slide them to the back burner for a minute and get to some of those kids that are harder nuts to crack. But you still got to check in with those other kids that bonded really quick. Otherwise, they're going to go, wait a minute, how come these kids who are always, doing the naughty thing or the thing they're not supposed to do are getting all this attention? It's such a delicate balance, and you get better and better at it as the years go on. But take that time. Use the first couple of weeks of school. Make your schedule a little lighter. try to find a way, whether it's outside or at snack time or during center time or free choice time, whatever, to spend a little bit of one-on-one time with each of those kids. Try to get them to laugh or tell you something about themselves. I've had kids that just wouldn't speak at all to me for a couple of weeks, and that's okay. Unless they have, a real anxiety issue with something like selective mutism or something, you are going to get them to talk to. I did have a little girl who had selective mutism, but she would talk to me. She would talk to me before school and she would talk to me after school, but she wouldn't talk to me during school when the other kids were there. So we had a relationship where if no one else was around, she felt safe to interact. And I just let that be okay. I mean, they're little, they're just learning. But I swear to you, it will pay off in dividends. Forgo a center or two to get into the social emotional with one particular child and create that bond. You will not regret it. You will find that it is always worth it and that you can pile on these activities later. The most important thing is that all those kids trust you and know that you love and care for them and that you will keep them safe and protect them, because that is your job. Your job is to love them, help them learn through play, and keep them safe as they get to know all the other kids. That's it. On top of that, we can put the learning letters, learning numbers, but we've got to have that first. That's our foundation to everything. So work on that, especially as you're going through all those procedures and everything else. Be playful, be fun, be funny. Kids love people to just tease and joke with them, and it's easier when it's a whole group. Put on a funny voice when you do things, or use a puppet, or just start getting really creative. So I know your first week, we talk about going over those procedures, and yes, we do have to do that. But in that little box of learning all those, you've got to bond with those kids. Give yourself a good solid month of getting that bond down pat. And even if there are some kids that take a little while longer, if you really work on it and find reasons, authentic reasons why you really like this child, even though they might be crying and being difficult and making your day harder, they're still little children, and there's always something that you can find to love about them. So work on bonding with those kids. Forgo other activities if you don't feel like that bonding is happening. If you feel like it's happening and things are moving on at a good clip in that department, then you can layer in those other things. So bond. You won't regret it. It's always worth it, and it makes your job so much more fun. It helps them learn more and discover more and be more at ease in your classroom. Okay? Because that's the most important thing. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was really short, but I just started thinking about this new group of kids that I have coming my way and thinking about if I boiled it down to the absolute essence of what's the most important in these first few weeks, it's developing that trust and that bond with the kids as I'm teaching them to be in school, and the routines and the procedures and everything else. And then we can layer more on that. It's just like this big cake, isn't it? Layers and layers of what we need to do. We have a hard job that isn't always appreciated by our salaries or respect, but I respect you guys. I know how hard you work. I know how important the work is that you do. And just keep doing it well, because those little guys deserve our best every single day. Thanks so much for watching. Please leave a comment if you have a special way that you bond with the kids. I would love to hear what you do in your classroom.